would think that of all the seminars that are going to happen in the next couple of days, this is the one where the seats ought to come with seat belts, because if any of you know Python, well, anything could happen. Anything could happen. We've gone through. We've got some notes, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So it's a fireside chat, and the point of the fireside chat is that informality is key. So if you've got any questions, don't wait for the end for questions and answer sessions. Just shout out your questions, and we'll take them as we go. So, can I ask how many people in the room do actually own or have owned a game that Python's been involved in? Okay, so quite a few of you. Okay, so Python, if you're ready.
Yeah.
The first question is, we're here in Seattle. Have you been to Seattle before?
No, I haven't been in Seattle. I went by Seattle, drove right by it, and had an interview with somebody at Xbox in, I think it was 2002. And what I was doing back then is I was looking at the technology that you guys are all familiar right now with, done by Gesture Tech in Canada, which is now Kinect. And interestingly enough, I have the games and the presentation, and nobody wanted to touch it in 2002. Lo and behold, about 6 years later, Kinect came about. Right. Now, I do not know how that happened, but I was always going to all these other shows, toy shows, technology shows like SIGGRAPH, like some of the MIT presentations, some of the robotic shows, because I felt that, as I did before, introducing new stuff to pinball, to video, that the problem we basically have in our industry, and especially in pinball, is the fact that there is no innovation. Mm-hmm. Now, if you look today, you don't have anybody in our subculture go to a show where they show new mechanisms, or go to a place like IAAPA that shows new roller coasters or the new muscle wires. You know, you're aware of muscle wires, right, with the metal? Okay. So basically, our industry is stuck in the past. And as I told you earlier today, Harry Williams, you know, a lot of people glorify themselves as designers, and as, you know, what are they doing? They are using the same mechanisms Harry Williams designed 40 and 50 years ago. And then they have the audacity to make them cheap. On top of it, they break, so you have to service them, and you have to buy them every 6 months, okay? So we are in a crisis, and I think that's the main reason. Well, there are two reasons. One, the technical one, where they don't get new blood in companies like Stern or the other entities, and Williams didn't. Once Joe Jones died, the great genius of the 80s, who I don't know if you guys ever saw his name on my games. Joe Jones was the man that made my games. I am here before you being somebody, and you guys enjoy my games only because Joe Jones. Okay, yes, I fantasized of doing the spinning entry shot in pinball from a seashell, which I shaved and I threw a pinball in it. Yes, I did come up with a mask and stuff like that. But all those things worked and became reality because of Joe Joe's genius. If I would tell Joe Joe's to take a ball, okay, and magically go in this ear of mine and come out the other out of my ass, he would make it happen. And I'm not excited. I mean, the guy was incredible, a genius. And I think that all the other designers should mention, and they never do, his name every time they speak before you, or they thank God for their good fortune in our industry. So that was the time I went by Seattle. Seattle, though, blew me away when I think I have their names. There are some here today. There's folks from Skillshot sent me a Python Anghelo little, it looked like one of those manifestos put out by revolutionaries, you know, an underground little folded thing. It was so awesome. I couldn't believe the amount of information they jammed in there. And they had more facts than some of our respected, where is Jim?
Good question. Not here.
Not here? I'm disappointed, because I was just going to tell him he should kind of hook up with these guys, because he has a lot of, I mean, these guys have so much stuff on pinball.
They do. One of the things I like about that publication is it tells you where you can go in Seattle and play pinball, and it tells you what games they've got.
And they cater to players, right, not designers trying to impress other designers, which that's why I'm not in the loop and in a political correct world. Now, players are the holy grail. They are the reason I'm here, we are here, pinball exists. And that's, you know, that's like the church. It's because of oh, there is you. By the way, these are the guys that blew me away with their little, what do you call that?
Zine.
Huh?
Zine.
Zine?
Zine. Like magazine.
A zine. Ooh, I like that. It's a zine. Ooh, it's very sexual. You left the mega in mega. All right. So basically, it blew me away that on 1, 2, 3, 4 pages, then they were folded like little things you pass at the exams to cheat on the teacher. And anyway, they had so much info on games locations in Seattle, and information on the pinball world, on the subculture here, which I think Seattle, because of their publication, I started digging into what's going on to like Shorty's, Dalkey's, the Seattle Pinball Museum, right? And I'm going, this stuff should have happened in Chicago too, where pinball game. Why isn't Chicago Seattle is the pinball capital of the world? In my book, honestly, not because I'm here, because people know I don't kiss butt, and I say it like it is. And I will say it when I go back in Chicago, and I'll slap them around when I get back, including the Swell Pinball Expo. Not only they cater to the players and to all these places and announce what games, what's hot, what's going on, but I couldn't believe the accuracy of their analysis and their critique of the games. Some games that are 40 years old, some games that are 4 months old or 4 years old. And impartial, without politics, without strings attached, an amount of sincerity that you rarely see in the press today, both the general press, you know, like right now, you don't hear anything about IRS too much in the, right. You learn more from European BBC and so than they do, well, maybe Fox News. Okay. But the same thing in our industry. You don't find, you know, few people talk about what a pile of crap this latest game was, and I won't mention names or what's going on. Now, Pinside sometimes has some courageous guy that will give you an honest, you know, thing, or a whistleblower from some manufacturer. But anyway, I'm totally impressed with Seattle. I'm very honored and very humbled and very fortunate to be here. The only thing I can say, the only thing I'm sorry about is that I didn't pay attention to it earlier. One thing that I sincerely can tell all you guys is I had my head up my ass because I don't live in the past. I was busy designing other games for kids, for Chuck E. Cheese, Wacky Ducks, Chameleon Paradise. My parents were dying, so I had a family situation, then my health situation popped in, where I got diagnosed with lung cancer in 2011, stage 4, metastasized. I was supposed to be dead in September. And by the grace of the pinball gods, I'm still here. Maybe they want me to do the Pinball Circus.
Right, you must have more to do. Well, tell us about Pinball Circus. What's happening with that?
Pinball Circus is a game that I think would have changed pinball for the better and moved it into the future. What I basically told the Williams top brass was that the same 2 flippers, choo-choo ride, a few toys, and a Hollywood license, people are not going to go for that. It's almost like going and having the same meal, okay, served to you the same beans, you know, fried beans and whatever, in a different box, but it's the same crap. So anyway, I was experimenting at the time with a multi-level staired playfield. Imagine where you go from the flippers here to and he goes, but the game became too long. They were complaining. I go, shuffleboards were longer and they did well. They had an excuse for everything. Why it shouldn't be done? Because this is what the truth about the whole shebang is. They were becoming a money company. They're a public-owned company, okay? Each quarter they had to show a profit.
Sure. They had shareholders.
Yeah, and they also had now designers, like Pandora box. You have 12 designers throwing shit at the wall, something will stick, and out of 12 we get the next quarter game, right? So it was a money machine, not a pinball machine anymore. And I told them, if I want to be in the money business, I'll go join a bank and go, you know, study finance. I'm a pinball designer, I want to do great pinballs. And pinball now was linear, was plafonated. Now I told them that my players and everybody was complaining. You know, whether it was Kamikaze copying me or Steve Ritchie or whoever, they were copycats and crazy cats. There were still a few guys like Trudeau, who's a genius and an original. And, you know, a few guys, Pat McMahon with his original stuff. But mostly even the good original guys were selling out to the license shit.
Well,
Give me
how much say did they have at that? I mean, when you were at Williams, could you do a game that was an online?
Well, there were guys that were hostage because they had a mortgage and a family. Right. And I don't blame those, but you know what? God hates a coward. And the thing is, I had a wife in school, too, medical school. I had my bills to pay. That doesn't mean that because Adolf Hitler of pinball tells me to gas 6 million Jews, I'm going to go do it because I have to pay a mortgage or destroy an industry. I mean, it was that simple. I told him, you're going to have thousands of people in a factory out on the street, you're destroying. And by the way, it was typical of not just Williams in pinball. It was typical of Detroit in the 90s. If you watched our decline as a creative industrial power in the world, the disease that took root at Williams was all over. Was not just in the pinball industry or the video industry. And it is because what I call legalized organized crime, companies run by money people who are there to milk the cow till the cow dies. Forget about pension plans, forget about everybody.
Okay,
And
let's
hang
get
on.
back to Pinball Circus.
Yeah, so basically I did Pinball Circus. One thing I have to tell you is this. Every game at Williams had 12 prototypes made. That was the 4 years before Circus and after. 12 prototypes, 12 locations tested, different ones for 12 weeks.
Right.
If the game either swam or sunk, Circus was not, it was never done with Circus then. And I knew they didn't want it. It was too progressive. It threatened also the egos of the...
It never went out on test?
No. No, they claim it was out on test For a week. Whoopee! For a week against some other game. Well, anyway, the truth is this. Everybody that played it, without before Steve Kordak and the politicians stripped it, when he still had the snake head that kicked the ball back between the flippers and saved it, or when it had the monkey that stopped the ball and had the waves and the cool wire forms, the whole kinetic sculpture. Even Tim Arnold in Vegas will tell you, his game has most of it, but it's missing some major parts. And now, I will redo the game, much more improved, meaning I'm not going to do the same thing. And also, I'm not going to do it, I'm going to adapt it with new technologies. George and I are working, talking about mechanisms and so on, and coming to the new millennium. And I'll talk tomorrow more at my talk about the future of pinball, because I don't believe in living in the past and in negativity. We have to learn from the past and history so we don't repeat its mistakes and our own mistakes. My mistakes made me a better designer and made others better designers. Not the success, the mistakes make us better. So getting back to circus, I will do it, but I want to get, I'm forming now the right team. I already have a very good friend of mine that has the money, the know-how, and that wants to manufacture it in Chicago. And we'll announce it at the end of the year. We are not going to do what this other guys are doing. I don't believe in keeping people 2.5 years or whatever. A game should be done between 6 and 9 months. And it's like a good wine. You cannot ferment it less or more. And I can tell you, every time I did a game that lasted more than 6.5, 7 months, it became a pile of crap. It was over-engineered. It was not there. Star Rider was a good example of it. Great concept, great, but also in Star Rider I was young. I didn't know how to keep the management and the politicians, what a team meant and how to lead a team. I was a young buckaroo from my 20s. So getting back to circus, a great theme without a team is nothing but a wet dream. The other thing that's going to happen with circus is, besides getting the right team and doing the right kind of game with mechs that are going to be reliable and not the same old, and that's the thing that I'm going to talk about tomorrow. Okay. The new mechs, the new flippers, the new ball trough, and so on, that is other companies are still using that are 40 years old and are not reliable. You guys have to work your butts off to keep the pinballs running. It's ridiculous. And we are in 2013, for crying out. We got rovers on Mars, mechanical things that don't fail, and we cannot build a pinball game that doesn't break in 8 months. Come on. Who's kidding who? Who's lazy? I think it's a matter of honesty too, because I think that people will screw other people as long as they can get away with it. So that's one aspect of circus. The other thing is the way I'm going to announce it with the posters. I'm going to raise the money to build the game. I'm not going to have people do down payments. I'm going to sell them a huge, beautiful circus limited edition poster done by me on canvas, art gallery material, as good as a Barnum and Bailey from the 1920s that was singing in the Lyric Opera in Chicago. You buy that for, I don't know what it will be, for a sum of money. And if I die the day after, you don't get screwed, okay? If my team crashes in an airplane accident, you don't get, okay? The other thing is, then there will be a second thing, a payment, when the prototype will already exist with the software playing before production, and we go to the 12 prototypes to be out on test. The testing locations will be on the internet, will not be kept a secret. Like this other guy, they are doing, people are buying games for $7 grand, $10 grand, on what?
A promise.
Yes, like giving Obama the Peace Prize before he did anything for peace, or other guy. I mean, our whole world right now is so messed up, and I think that some people are conditioned to be fooled that way. Because I wouldn't pay for something I don't see to pay on a promise. I mean, a lot of these guys, there are how many entities? 3 or 4 that are going to do this with new games. So basically, what I want to do is that, and the game be out in 9 months, and also have none of this plaques and, okay? I'm going to do 1,000 freaking great games. If they are that freaking incredibly popular, well, the games and the poster, the canvas, the painting, if I make another 10,000 games for mass production, because the game would be another, you know, like it happened in the 80s. So the guys that bought the original game, their game will be up in value. It's just like when you bought, let's say an early Picasso print. That print, when they reran those prints, they were cheaper, right? So even if I run a 10,000 afterwards, which I have every intention the game to be that good, the first 1,000 is going to be very valuable. Also, they are not going to be $10,000 or $15,000. That's obscene.
Is it? What does it cost to build a game, though?
I don't care what I don't care if you do it with headlamps in the bottom of a mine with union workers that want $50 an hour. It's still not going to be $12,000 or whatever. That's insane.
Back in the day when Pinball Circus was talked about, I think Williams' management was saying it was going to have to be $10,000.
No, that's a lie. And I can prove that. We have documentation. As a matter of fact, this man right here, James, he's the pinball angel that God sent to me when I was very sick. He found out the documentation, and Pinball magazine is going to clarify all this fall. Like the fishtail documents were published.
So we're going to get
and
the
truth.
We're going to get the truth. We're going to find out.
The truth is the game number 1, I know, because I know how much the BOM was. Yeah. It had 7 flippers.
Right.
Okay, I know every screw and bolt. Let me just explain it to you without getting a... Here you have a pinball game, right, with a playfield. Okay? You have a back box. You have a big cabinet, right? You have then a second level, some ramps, some toys, right? Let's take, not a complicated game, let's take Cirque Voltaire, or another one of those choo-choo rides and Happy Meal toys games that they were throwing out.
So we'll stick with Circus Voltaire.
Okay. Pinball Circus probably was about $300 more, and let me tell you why. If not, almost. In Pinball Circus, the bottom playfield was about 60% of a pinball playfield in length. Then the jumbo, the elephant, pinball, the elephant, and a giraffe playfield, and the clown face, the little playfield up on top. Those 3 playfields amounted to the rest of the surface missing here. Another thing is, the wire forms and the vacuum ramps and the toys were the same number, you can count them, and opposed to Cirque Voltaire and the jet bumpers. The only thing that was extra, it was the back playfield, the vertical one, that had the mechanical giraffe that took with a pulley, very simple, in a cup, it hit a nail, it dumped with a dump bucket. It didn't have the corkscrew from Banzai Run, all that helicopter transmission shit that those guys did. So basically, the game didn't have a back box, so it amortized that thing, had a smaller footprint, and the thing was a gas to play, just a blast. Absolutely. And it had animatronics, the elephant taking the ball, all this mechanical, interactive, not toys just sit there and they shake when you shake the game. Or they just sit there, do nothing, maybe have a light bulb light up. So coming from the toy industry and my theatrical design background, I wanted to have all this animatronics interactive with the ball. Well, I had a game at Capcom called Dinobot, which will appear in this fall's Pinball Magazine edition.
Okay.
Or Jim can do, you know, a thing or two on this stuff, because I have the drawings, again, data documentation and all that. And a lot of, what I would like to happen is young kids and people in the industry seeing this stuff. And you know what, if I croak tomorrow because my chemo doesn't go well, the new generation can pick it up, pick up the pieces and move into the future. My only concern is that you have literally millions of people on the planet, because I've been, and that's why I love Seattle. I've been from Australia to Germany, France, Amsterdam, you name it, Eastern Europe, Canada, even London, your hometown, and well, with Martin Bromley.
Okay.
And in the old days, he used to take me to all the city joints and the pinball, the pubs with pinballs.
Right.
Okay, the Barclay pubs. Well, anyway, Seattle beats all those locations hands down, as far as your player base, your enthusiasm, and the show. I mean, I'm impressed. I didn't have a chance to go inside the show. I will do that tomorrow. So getting back to circus, I have every intention to have it done by the end of this year, beginning of 14. And again, it's very important to me that besides being a very good, reliable game, both technically and entertainment-wise, it will put to shame all this greedy, I won't go there. I mean, I can't believe some of these prices that are thrown around. Found out about Big Bang Bar. I was creative director at Capcom. I know how much the dancing lady, which was, by the way, the first prototype, it was the lady from Circus, the one on the wheel, that I took and we molded it out of soft plastic, and I ran a wire up her butt and had it twist around and animate her dancing in the tube. Well, I wanted to also do a St. Pauli girl beer mug where a woman dances in your beer type thing. I'm one of these, you know, wacky guys. And basically, I know every mech, every part of Big Bang Bar for what, Illinois Pinball Company or whatever, to ask the prices for that they did.
The prices have gone up since it was made first time round.
I don't get it.
Right.
How much do you think they asked for?
Huh?
How much do you think Illinois Pinball asked for Big Bang Bar?
They just send me a letter. They have a copy. They want to sell for $50,000.
Right, right.
That's an original. How much do you think they charged for the ones they remanufactured?
I don't know. It was something obscene. I forgot. 40 what?
4,500. $4,500.
For the 100 games they did?
Yeah, 158 or whatever it was.
Huh?
187.
187?
They made 187 games.
And they charge 4,500?
Yeah.
It's too much for Big Bang Bar.
They're selling for what, 15,000 if you have one of those?
Listen, it's still, I still don't get it because I know what the game is. You know, if that sells for 4,500, then you know, a used.
How much would a Pinball Circus sell for one of the original prototypes that Williams had?
I have no clue because I don't know. Tim Arnold got his from Steve Kordak, and Kim Fedesna has an incomplete one in his basement. He wants 50,000 for it.
You think somebody would pay that for it?
Well, he asked me if I wanted to buy it so I can reproduce it. I said, I don't need I have the original right here, so why would I pay you for an incomplete piece of crap? You know, and the other thing is I couldn't believe he would try to sell me my horse.
Michael, what do you think if Williams had produced it, if they had gone forward with it, what do you think they would have sold the game for? Like if it would have gone into production?
That's like,
I know,
it's like if my uncle would be a woman, he'd be my aunt. You know, it's,
But I mean, if you were guessing.
if I was, I can't guess though, because I'm not a greedy person, and I'm not a creative accountant like those crooks. I'm not, and I'm an artist, and I'm a guy that, I mean, I'm a terrible businessman.
Well, the real question is, if they had produced Pinball Circus, do you think that would have changed the path of pinball?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Once you open that, yeah. No, you know, it's just like the jet age or whatever. It's like when Harry Williams did some of his wire ramps, and you know that party, they dumped the ball, or once you have innovation, you cannot go back. You can, after you drove a Lexus, you cannot go back to the Model T. You just can't. You know.
You left Williams and then went to Capcom?
I left Williams, yeah, I left Williams right after I finished Popeye and Circus. And by the way, I could have gotten much more money from Capcom if I would have left the games unfinished, like Mark did with Indiana Jones. And I didn't, because I never would leave my team stranded or something I started unfinished. I would never do that. It's against, well, my dad was alive, and even if I did it, he would have shot me. He would have, yeah.
When you went to Capcom, you didn't design a Pinball Circus-like thing for Capcom, though, did you?
No, Capcom, well, I was BS'd at Capcom. Rene and Mark told me that I will do what I couldn't do at Williams, to join them, and I did. And all of a sudden, they wanted to do a Me Too game. And it's basically something that really is so disappointing. It's just like I felt lately, things will change in our industry recently, in the last 2 years. Even now, I hope, again, I'm hoping, because you know, I wish nothing but the best for Gary Stern or for anybody in our industry, because I really love pinball. Okay, and my loyalty is not with an individual, it's not with an entity. I'm totally non-political. My loyalty is with an art form, an American art form that I consider an American art form, because it evolved from the bagatelle in Europe. Well, it was the children's bagatelle with a silver ball, and I don't know if you guys know the history of pinball, how far back, but Americans are a crazy bunch. We come from all over the world, and we mechanized everything. Americans mechanized farm tools, made big combines the size of a house.
They didn't put a coin mech on them, though.
And no, but I mean everything. They mechanized the bagatelle. Yeah. They mechanized the dildo. Sounds wrong. Who put batteries and vibrator in it? America. Right? Everything on the planet we mechanized. The toothbrush.
Right.
Masturbation devices, the toothbrush, hygienic devices, transportation devices, entertainment devices. We are a crazy bunch. And pinball is American, like blue jeans and apple pie and baseball, even more than those. Okay? So to me, that love connection and that passion is pure. So I want to when I heard Trudeau was hired by Gary, I go, hooray. I'm looking forward to see what they're going to do, because Trudeau is a genius and a very creative guy, and I have a lot of respect for him. Now, I don't know how much freedom he'll have there. You know, I don't know if you'll get in a ass-kicking game with 12 one-legged guys there, or what's...
Well, there's no sense in taking someone on to do the same game that everyone else was designing.
Exactly. And Steve Ritchie is still got that spark in his eye. I saw him in Michigan. But again, how much freedom? Because look, you know, I couldn't do anything with my creativity at Capcom or at Williams in the 90s. And I had to go and do Wacky Ducks and Chameleon Paradise and make more money with redemption in Chuck E. Cheese than I did in pinball for 15 years, I did in 3 years, which is ludicrous. It's ironic. So with pinball, again, there is too many hidden agendas that have nothing to do with pinball, unfortunately. They have to do with the greed for money, which is part of, I said, our culture recently. There's nothing wrong with capitalism unless capitalism is done correctly. I am anti-socialism. I suffered in my childhood, and my parents and my country was destroyed by socialists and communists. Okay? This is the greatest country with the greatest system, and now they are trying to screw it up, and they already are, royally, you know. And it's funny, everybody, nobody's looking at what really brought the economic crisis. Mm-hmm. Nobody's talking about the 96 thing Clinton did, so everybody could have a house. Everybody blames just the greed of the banks or whatever. They shoved that under the rug. And poor Bush comes in and inherits the orchard from Bill Clinton, while he was busy with Monica under the desk, and the whole thing was going to hell. This guy comes in, bang, the Arabs bomb us, and the economy goes down the tubes. But hang on, who said all those things? It took 8 years for that to happen, not 6 months since Bush. Then he comes in, and this guy takes credit for the bullshit he did or didn't, whatever. So basically the same thing is in industries. There are people right now in our industry, and James would, right, you know, you see how many ramp people, right, are in the industry that sell cellophane ramps.
You're saying that the parts are flimsy? Is that your
Yeah, and greed, and just fooling people. I mean, I said hidden agendas, nothing to do with the integrity of pinball.
Are you saying there's a conflict between a corporation that is set up to make money for shareholders and employing creative people and giving them free range to do whatever they want to with pinball?
No, the greatest way to make money is to hire creative pinball people and let them do pinball. And let me tell you why. It's like opening up a pizzeria. My dad told me something about, he said in America, if you do the best pizza, which was the deep dish in Chicago or the margarita, whatever, you can have 15 pizza joints on the same street. If you have the best pizza, you're going to become a millionaire in this country. Right. Only in America. If you set out to do the best coffee, Starbucks, the best computer system operating, Microsoft, the best phone that does everything except blow you and shave you, right? I mean, we are a place where genius, creativity that is nurtured and is let free makes a lot of money.
So aren't you arguing with yourself? Because if genius can make money for a company, so
right.
It's not incompatible with profit making, Williams would have let you make Pinball Circus and they'd be rich now.
No, they didn't, because the guys behind Williams had no clue, number one, who was creative and
so
who
they
wasn't.
Recognize the
No, they had a Pandora box, as I said to you. They thought that if they hired 15 copycats, crazy cat, they didn't know the difference between a copycat and Johnny O.C. or a Trudeau, and I won't mention the other bozos that.
But it seems to be easy to recognize the talent because the games are going to sell more.
Not necessarily, because basically what happened was, you didn't hear when I said copycats.
Right.
What they did, although everybody said pinball is not a pinball game, Python is bringing all these toys and all this crazy crap, then they all started copying it. So, you know, again, because of the insincerity, there are people there that were coming to work to make money for their paycheck. They didn't come there because they gave a damn about pinball or the players.
They didn't have the passion. That's
No, absolutely not. And they only want to impress other designers. They don't go out and talk to players. They don't go out and find out what operators are bitching about, what's working, what makes sense. They also, if you look at pinball games, when I did a pinball game, I wanted to do this robot that played with you. I consider a pinball machine a playbot,
okay.
a robot that you interact with. Professors at University of Ohio recognize it. They're doing now a course and a book on my work. And I'm going to include other guys because I'm drawing, you know, like I want Trudeau to be part of it. But they discovered it because I made it obvious that the best pinball games as an art form, American art form, is pinball games take bad cats. It was my neighbor to my left that had 2 mean dogs and one goofy one on the other side with freaking 14 cats. And I was in the middle, and the cats would cross my yard to go to the dogs and get killed by the dogs or chased, or the dogs would jump through my yard chasing cats to theirs. Right. And to me, it was the most hilarious freaking thing. I was sitting on my back porch with a beer and a Polish sausage and a sketch pad, and I was coming up with all that stuff you saw on the back glass and on the playfield. Same thing with jokers, kings and queens, playing with us little joke. I even have a drawing on my table. I have a queen and king arguing, and instead of words, there are all these cavalry guys coming out and slicing the shit out of each other instead of words. And the caption is, when kings and queens argue, the powerful argue, people die. Us little guys die. So each one of my games was taken from a real life situation, whether it was bad cats, whether it was jokers. I don't have to tell you guys about the machine bride of pinball, right? You understand
Don't
it.
tell us. Then we can get your version of it rather than...
No, I mean, come on. A woman with flipper buttons on her hips? Ooh, man, come on. you talk about a pinball machine. If you want to know if a pinball machine is a good pinball machine, don't listen to me, don't listen to... Where is Jim? Schubert. Yeah. Don't listen to Jim, don't listen to Gary Flowers, to the pinball historians, to these guys. Go and watch guys play the pinball game. And if their butts are moving real fast, that's a good machine. And that's why the machine bride of pinball. So the sensuality of pinball, I don't know if you guys ever saw Troppo Forte. I should, can we download that and play it? Troppo Forte? From the internet? You have your computer, James?
Is that the video, Gary, that you had talked about?
Troppo Forte, the Italian.
Python's World was what you had me.
Yeah.
No. Troppo Forte is the one I showed you guys with, what's his name, Oscar from Italy.
How long does it run?
Go on. I think Troppo Forte. Go and find. You know what?
Is it on YouTube?
Yeah, it would be on YouTube.
How do you spell it?
Troppo, Troppo, Forte.
Forte.
T. But anyway, it's something you guys should enjoy.
Well, maybe people can go and check it out for themselves.
Yeah, go take note of it and go check it out. But basically, it talks about the sexuality of pinball.
Oh, really?
Well, every game. I mean, you go out in springtime. What are the games the frogs, the birds, and the bees are playing? It's the mating game.
It's the one game.
And in football, you put it in the end zone. You get it between the uprights. In pool, you get it in the pockets. That's it right here.
Cioè il rapporto col flipper è come un rapporto sessuale.
You
come
don't, you don't play with your
Non è
hands,
il
he said.
pulso che deve dare
You want me to
spinta
translate it?
membri. Ma capito, Mauro?
You know, you play it with your stomach, with your hips.
Il colpo deve essere
He's
secco,
showing
preciso. Questo sistema il tilt è
the
automático.
pinball geek, who's supposed to be the expert, and watch what he does to the machine. And this is hilarious. This is going to be. Hang on to your seats.
Tacci tu, sei un drago sei.
It says, "You are a dragon. You are incredible." Watch, this is nothing. Watch what's following. You see a little of Roger Sharp playing pinball here?
Amore, leggi un po' un attimo che io
Says, I can't see with the sunglasses. How much is the score?
995.000, ammazza.
Says, son of
una
a...
penna, per favore.
Can't believe it. Anyway, he's going to sign his name on the back glass and the score, and watch him walk out. And the final coup de grace, he zips his pants on his way out. Oscar. Well, anyway, check it out. Watch.
I think we get the message.
Yeah, all right.
So weren't you saying that with Pinball Circus, that was something you wanted to build into it, that you didn't just use the flipper buttons to interact with the game, but you don't...
No, it had a snake head, a python head between the flippers, because I never liked the fact that if that ball comes between the flippers, you don't have a skill. I don't like when a game screws you over. If you are not good enough, number one, okay, I understand, then the game should punish you for being a dodo, not paying attention, being slow, and not treat you the same way as the good guy. However, I believe in giving the player a chance to redeem himself with another last moment skill. So I had in front of the game a big button that you hit with your crutch, and the snake would hit the ball between the flippers. I mean, I know every man fantasized at some point, whether sober or straight. When that ball came down, he went, mother, you want to stick your snake head through those flippers and get that ball back in there. Right. And basically, that's how I design things, from the gut. I don't go there and we should do a geometric... Bullshit, we all have the same wants, the same frustrations, the same sexual fantasies, all of us, because we are from the same species. Sure. So if I felt I do a game that satisfied me, every other human being that's not a lizard or another species would like the same crap I like. And it's true, it's true. So that was one of the features. The other feature was the ringmaster that changed languages. So every time you went up on top, you came down. It didn't go right down in the drain monster. They took my monkey away. There was a monkey that stopped the ball and looked at the ringmaster. And the ringmaster would change from English to German. And would say, meine Damen und Herren, das ist das Flipper Circus, you know, and speak in German. You know, with a Nazi type, or very Achtung and all that, and make fun of German circus. Then you'd have the Spanish guy with the mariachis and the lovely Lolita, and so on. So as visiting a circus like in all this...
Around the world.
Yeah, about 8 places. And the game had depth. All that was taken out. Was just stripped.
I mean, the story as I remember it at the time was the game never went into production because it was going to be like $10,000 to sell, and it will be $2 a game to play, and the numbers...
No, and Hans Rosenzweig in Germany was very upset. And that's basically when Germany stopped. That's what started... By the way, Pinball Circus in 1993 started being the downfall. And I told Williams, you guys, when I was off by 1 year, I told them they'll be out of business in 1998. and they went in 99, right?
Right.
So I was off by a year. But I said, you cannot bullshit people. You know, you can't do this. We got to do, the other game that I had also on the drawing board was the sit-down pinball that you guys will find out about. I will have a mock-up this fall at Chicago Expo, Pinball Expo, where you basically sit down and the playfield is up, waits for you. And you take it and you lower it over your head, and your head comes in a bubble above the playfield about here, right behind the flippers. The flippers are here, right? And you hang on to two upside down joysticks and you fire the flippers, right? And the balls come, they hit you, there's a target for your nose. You see in the mirror your face in the bubble, and all these balls fly around your head, and it's a sit-down pinball, right? Also, you feel all these mechs around you. Boom, 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 boom. And like the clown in circus, you have to defend your teeth and your nose from the balls coming down, right? That's another cool thing to take pinball forward, is by having the ball become an exoskeleton, a mechanical robot that's part of you and part of that playfield, fantasy playfield, and now you interact. And I think it's going to be the future, like the theaters now, 3D theaters, with crap coming out and hitting you in the face and things tickling you by the ankles. If pinball doesn't move forward with technologies and stays, and you have, like I said, the same two flippers, same choo-choo rides, the Happy Meal toys, and a Hollywood poster, which everybody's doing again, I think they're going to kill it for good.
So you're very down about the sort of the idea of making licensed games. Is there any licensed thing you would like to do?
Oh, by the way, it's not just of course there are great licenses.
Okay.
You could do, for example, a pinball game where you license new technologies, or you, like in the sit-down game, you know, you do an astronaut thing, a space thing. There is nothing wrong with using licenses as long as it moves the game both mechanically and design-wise forward.
Right.
So basically, you look at the great licenses. I mean, a license won't make or break a great pinball. It's the integration of the license with a good design into a pinball machine that's fun to play. It's just like, I wouldn't say all machines, like the non-licensed games, the great Buckaroo or whatever.
Right.
Again, it was the genius of the one guy, the way it was choreographed and put together, that made the thing absolutely hilarious and sexy and cool.
I think you've only worked on one license, as far as I can recall. Bugs Bunny springs to mind.
Hang on. The one thing that Bugs Bunny and Popeye.
Okay.
For Popeye, I have a movie script that we worked on, myself and the team, the creative team, and a writer, Jeremy Brodsky, and that didn't work at Williams or at Bally. And in Bugs Bunny, John Trudeau and Roger Sharp, when we went to California, we told those guys, and Chuck Jones, I will do Bugs Bunny. He says, how good are you to draw? I drew it. And the guy said, yeah, you know, right there, yeah, you can handle it. And then if you look at Bugs Bunny, did you guys ever see the Tasmanian Devil eat through a pinball game in any of their? So I did a script that used those characters and that license, but the story was original. What I have a problem with is when you, as what's his name, Christensen said, when you throw at a team an egomaniacal studio, they take what they have, their story, and the team, the creative team in pinball, the pinball team, artist, programmer, playfield designer, cannot design a pinball game and be equal partners with the theme and make the theme work. You basically, if these guys don't like a color or for whatever reason, it's a nightmare working with them. I know because we tried to do Batman, and I said if we don't get Nicholson as the villain, the Joker, which is the main villain, and if we don't do this, I did Police Force as a backup, because again, it was a nightmare with in terms of them meeting you halfway to design, to take the theme and make it work in pinball. Because again, you cannot take.
I got a quick question.
Yeah.
And so we don't go forward with this. The creative aspect where we are today, where they're just taking, because I agree with you, they're taking basically licensed, movie themes, and they're just copy and pasting it.
Right.
There's no creativity whatsoever.
Absolutely no, but the studio would not let the problem is whoever is negotiating the theme, like we did with Roger, is got to tell them that it is going to work for both parties much better if they let the creative pinball team, okay, like a John Trudeau when we did Bugs Bunny. Now, we didn't have time. Let me tell you guys real quick about Bugs Bunny. Bugs Bunny was made in 3 months, which is unbelievable, from A to Z. Because we needed a belly line, the monster fed, the manufacturing monster, Godzilla. So Twilight Zone would exist. Twilight Zone would have never happened without, Addams Family would have never happened without Bugs Bunny keeping the line. But when we went there, again, it was Roger Sharp's, we could have blown it. Where he said, look at Python sketches, look at what John is doing with the birthday cake. And again, you take risks.
But why do you think it changed to where it is now to where it was when you were, say, at Williams? Because it seems like when you were at Williams, it was more, I know there was controversy and stuff like that where, with upper management and things like that they didn't want to let you do things. But they were willing, it was the communication between the studios and you guys that was more, feasible, or where it is now, or they just not even going to those meetings?
I explained it earlier to you guys. It's like the pizzeria or whatever. When you have a company become a money company, if you have a pinball company, let the creative guys on both sides, both from the studio and your company, make the creative decisions. If you do the best pinball game, that's a moneymaker. In a moment, you start nickeling and diming. When I saw you come to a meeting and you have some guy that never in his life put, which was called, well, anyway, they made him a project manager. I won't any names, so everybody knows that worked at Williams, okay? The guy would come and tell me, are you freaking nuts? You want 8 jet bumpers? 8? I go, well, Harry Williams wants to put 14 of them, right? It was Q. What an awesome freaking game. But I go, but I won't have many drop targets. I won't have this other. But the thing is, as my dad told me, if you make the pizza, don't worry about the money. Make the best pizza in town. Everybody will come. So the problem, I think, that happened, not just in pinball, I said it's a cultural thing that happened to the automobile industry and our country. Is not just pinball. It's the problem with this, that we forgot that as a culture, we build the best, the tallest buildings, the best tanks, the fastest cars, the best, whatever we did, the biggest mattresses. We mechanized dildos, as I said, bagatelles, let's go, okay? We are one mean, creative bunch of guys here. The problem is this, the banks and this money thing now is ruining us. It's overstepping, it's killing the American spirit and our innovation
want to do.
Yeah, that I'll
and
do.
Make it reasonable cost-wise to open.
But it was reasonable,
Well, no,
as I told you.
well, no, exactly.
There was a problem though. Let me tell you again what the problem was. The problem was not that Pinball Circus was $300 more in a BOM, which I will publish I have the documentation. Okay. It was not that. It was not that it was, again, the problem was this. There was a conveyor belt, and you had to have now a genre of game where you did not have in place the teams that would have been capable to build comparable platform games. And another thing, for a while in the beginning, like any business, it wouldn't have been as profitable as this thing. Bottom line is this, Redstone and whoever was there, these people are not, again, all they cared was about the money. And the company going public, in my opinion, was the biggest mistake they made. The one thing. The other thing is,